Welcome to the one video that will take you from Excel formulas newbie to Excel formulas wizard. And for this, we'll go over 10 of the most useful formulas and rank them in terms of difficulty, all the way from 1 stars to 5 stars. So let's get into it. Starting with level 1, first up we have the sequence formula, which, as the name kind of suggests, allows you to generate a list of sequential numbers. For instance, in this Excel file, which you can download in the description below, you can see that we have a list of 100 new employees over here. And so we want to put a sequence that's going to go from 1 to 100. So we'll go equals, sequence is the formula for that, press the tab key there, and the rows, we're just going to type 100, close those brackets, and hit enter. If you go to control down arrow all the way to the bottom, you'll see that you created a list of 100 right there. Now you might think that this formula is quite simple and there's not much to it, but there is a slightly more advanced version of it. For instance, suppose over here under ID number, Ashley here is employee number 500. So for this, we can go to equals, sequence again, press the tab key, and now for the rows, we still want 100, but this time around under columns, we'll just put 1, press the comma again, but we want to start at number 500 because there's already 499 employees in the company, say. Then you can close those brackets and hit enter, and now that's where you start. Next up in level 1, we have string functions like the right, the mid, or the left, and you're probably wondering what I'm talking about, so let me show you on Excel. Here's a scenario under the second tab. You can see that we have a small table with the store ID followed by the products that are going to that store alongside their contact information over here. And so we want to find out the calling code, which essentially is the +34 area, alongside the country code, which for Madrid would be the ES here. So first we'll go left function, press the tab key. The text is gonna be this area over here that we want, and we want the first 3 characters. Close those brackets and hit enter there. From here, you'll go all the way back to the first one and press the shift down arrow all the way to the bottom here and go Control D. That's gonna drag it all the way down for us. Same concept with the country code, and you probably guessed it, it's the right hand side now. Press the tab key there. We'll go location as Madrid, press the comma, and the number of characters going from the right side, we want 2 characters. Close those brackets and hit enter. And again, shift down arrow all the way to the bottom here and press Control D. Alright, moving on to level 2. And here we're gonna be looking at date functions, so functions like today, weekday, and week number. And here's the scenario. So we've got all of these products over here that are coming on a specific date. Now we wanna make sure that this date isn't a Sunday because we don't work on Sundays in the warehouses. And so to make sure of that, you can either go one by one and try to see whether that's gonna be a Sunday, look it up on Google maybe, but that's obviously quite a tedious process. And instead what we can use is the weekday function. So we'll go equals, weekday, press the tab key there. And so the date that we're interested in is this one, comma. And here we're gonna be able to specify, hey, do you want the Sunday as the first day or do you want the Sunday as, say, day 7? In our case, let's say we go for the conventional Monday through Sunday. So you'll press the 2 there, close those brackets and hit enter. From here, you can either press the Control D like before or go over here to the side and double click on it. Now you can start to see that, hey, this is a Sunday, so we should probably reschedule it. Same kind of concept goes for the week number. Suppose we don't work in a particular week in the year, we'll go equals, weeknum, press the tab key, same serial number, comma, and the return type, let's go for 2 again, so we stay consistent and hit enter. And so now it's the same concept there. And lastly, it'd be useful to know the time to arrival. So essentially, which of these do we have to prioritize? Because we see there's quite a lot that are gonna come on a Sunday, but we don't want that. And so we need to find out how to prioritize them. For this, we can actually use the today function and see how far it is from today that they're gonna be arriving. So we'll go equals, we'll select the arrival date first, minus today, close those brackets and hit enter. And so we know now that this is gonna arrive 157 days from today. And if you drag this all the way down, you're gonna start to see that, hey, maybe we should prioritize this very last one that's actually coming in 14 days. So we should probably contact them first. Next up in level 2, we have the if statement, which basically says that if a certain condition is true, then you should do one thing. And if it's false, you should do something else. So for example, if you like this video, you should like it. And if you don't like it, you should comment down below why you don't like it. Jokes aside, let's look at a real life scenario here. So we've got a company's balance sheet. And in case you don't know anything about accounting, all you should know is that the total assets, so this yellow line over here, should equal the total liabilities and shareholders' equity line down over here. Now to make sure of that, we can use an if statement. So we'll go equals if, press the tab key there, The logical test for us is that this figure over here equals this figure up here. Press the comma key there, and the value if true, so what should happen if that is indeed the case, we'll put in brackets an OK sign, close those brackets, and then put the comma sign there, the quotations I meant there, sorry, and then the value if false, so if that's not the case, then we should put something in quotations like error. Then close those quotations, close the brackets, and then hit enter there. So the first one says it's okay, we'll just drag that across like so. And suppose I change this figure to say a 5 just to see what happens, you can see that that's gonna change to an error sign there. Continuing on with if statements in level 3, but this time they're gonna be slightly more complex because they're actually gonna be two functions in one. A sum, which is obviously an addition, and an if put together. For this, we have this data set over here where we have the iPhone as the product, and we have the respective quantities for it, as well as the year it was sold in, say. So we have the 2022 iPhone sales that we want to find out here. But you'll notice that we have 2022 over here, we have a bit more of that over here, some more over here. And so we want to find a formula that's going to be able to sum all of them together. So we'll go equals sum if, press the tab key there, and the range here is going to be basically all of this years over here. Press the Control Shift down arrow to get to the bottom, comma. The criteria is that we want this range to equal to the 2022 number. Press the comma key, and the sum range is the area that we want it to sum. For us, that's going to be the quantity sold. Control Shift down arrow to get to the bottom, close those brackets, and hit enter there. And now you can see that we should have the whole sum over here. And if you're watching these formulas and wondering how you can apply them to the real world, I recommend checking out Financial Edge, which provides certified online finance courses and is also sponsoring this video. They're the instructors that teach the new hires at the top 4 investment banks across the globe, so you can get the exact same training online at your own pace. Their best-selling investment banker course goes over all the relevant skills you need to succeed in an analyst role. These include financial accounting, financial modeling, valuation, and more. And if you're interested in other areas of finance, they've also got courses on asset management, private equity, trading, etc. So if you're interested in checking them out, go to a link in the description below and use code KENJI25 to get 25% off their courses. Alright, back to Excel. A slightly more complex version of a SUMIF is a SUMIFS, so with multiple if conditions. For this, go to control page down, and here you can see that we have all our budget, where we have our income alongside our expenses with the description and the amount for it. And suppose we're looking specifically at the month of April and we want to find out the base salary alongside all of the other expenses as well. For this, a normal SUMIF is not quite going to work because we have both a condition where we need to fulfill the month, so we need it to be the month of April, and we need to fulfill the category as we want it to be the category over here. That's why we're going to use a SUMIFS for this. We'll go equals SUMIFS, press the tab key. The sum range for us is going to be all of the amounts. So go to Control Shift down arrow all the way to the bottom there. And now we're going to do something a bit special, which is pressing the F4 key. The reason we want that, you can see there's some dollar signs here, is because it's going to lock this range, meaning that when we copy this formula down all the way here, the amount column here that we have selected is not going to be moving down, as that wouldn't be quite accurate. So then we're going to press the comma key. The criteria range is that we need it to be in the month in this area, so all of these months is going to be the range for us. Press the F4 key there, comma. Then the criteria number 1 is that it's in the month of April. We'll press the F4 again so it doesn't go down, comma. The criteria range number 2 is all the categories. So we'll select these areas here, Control Shift down, press the F4 key, comma. And the criteria 2 is going to be that it equals to the base salary. This one we don't have to press the F4 key because it's fine for us to be dragging it down because we need it to move down as well. Close those brackets and hit enter. From here we'll copy it and drag it down over here, and same thing down below, Control V. Moving on to level 4, and make sure you stick around until the end for 2 bonus tips as well. Here we're gonna start with a vlookup, which allows you to look up data within a vertical table. So here's the scenario we're working with. We're looking at a data set of Coca-Cola products here, alongside their warehouses and how much quantity there is for each. And we'd like to know how much Minute Maid we have left and how much of all these other brands we have left as well. So for this, we'll go equals vlookup, press the tab key there. The lookup value for us is the minute made. Press the comma key. The table array is gonna be this whole range over here. So we'll press Control Shift down, Control Shift right, and then we'll press the F4 key to lock that one. Press the comma key. The column index number, and this is a part that gets people confused, is basically vlookup starts from the left hand side and then goes towards the right. So we need to count the number of columns we need to find in order to get to the quantity. So for us, it's gonna be product as number 1, number 2, number 3, and the quantity, which is the one we want as the output, is gonna be the 4th one. So we'll put a 4 there, press the comma, and then for here, we're just gonna go false because we want an exact match. Close those brackets and hit enter. And just to make sure here, we see that minute made has a quantity of 10,550. If you go down right over here under the table, you can see that that's the exact same amount. So we know that's right. From here, we'll drag this down, just double click there. But you'll notice here that the very last one, Powerade, is giving us this error sign. We're not entirely sure why. If you press the F2 key, it seems like the formula is working fine. And so you'll notice that if you go under the products, the Powerade actually isn't there. And so that's why it's giving us this error sign. And that brings us to the second part of level 4, where we'll be looking at the IFERROR function, which essentially allows you to replace an error key with something else so that it's easy for people to understand and they don't think that the model is broken or something. So we'll go inside this Powerade cell by pressing the F2 key, go to the very front of it, and we'll go if error, press the tab key, and the value is essentially what's gonna be right. So if there's no error, what should we put? So we'll put all of this area over here. We'll just skip towards the very end, press the comma key, and the value if error, meaning if there is a mistake, let's put in quotations, we'll assume that it's out of stock, and so that's why it's not on this list. So we'll just put out of stock, close the quotations, and hit enter. Here it says that I didn't close the brackets, so I'll just press yes. And now you can see that it says out of stock because there's no Powerade there. Had I changed this to, say, Coca-Cola, then all of a sudden it would change back to the actual quantity here. Moving on to level 5, and these are the most complex and useful formulas out there. And first up, we have the xlookup, which is very similar to the vlookup, other than it can do more things as well. So let's take a look over here. You can see that we have a similar data set to the one before, and here we have the product arrival date, and essentially we want to find out what brand arrived on which day. Now, the reason we can't do a vlookup here is because we actually have to go more to the left hand side. So this is our starting point where we have all the dates, and we need to go more to the left. If you recall, the vlookup actually went from left to right. It can't go from right to left. And so that's the limiting factor there. That's where the xlookup comes handy. So we'll go equals xlookup, press the tab key. The lookup value is gonna be that date for us. Press a comma. The lookup array is gonna be this whole range over here, all of these dates, Control Shift down arrow. We'll press the F4 key, comma. Then the return array, so what we want as the output is the products here. Go to Control Shift down, we'll press the F4 key, close those brackets and hit enter. Then we're just gonna drag this all the way down to the bottom here. And again, you'll notice that the very last one has an error sign here as well. If you press the F2 key there, just to make sure the formula is working fine, it seems to be the case. So it's most likely that this date, actually nothing arrived on that date. And so we can go ahead and change that, press the F2 key, but instead of doing the IFERROR again, xlookup does have a feature like that inside it. So press the comma key, you'll find that it says that if not found, which is basically somewhat like an if error. And here we're just gonna put in quotations that nothing arrived on this date. Close the quotations there and hit enter. And so now you have a similar feature to the IFERROR, except that it's all in one formula. And finally, the hardest formula we'll look at, which is the index match. And it's actually a combination of two formulas. One's the index and the other one the match. So let's take a look on Excel, go to the very last tab, and you can see we have this data set with the state revenue by year. And so we want to find out the revenue specifically in the state of California in 2019. And you might consider maybe doing a vlookup or an xlookup, but the problem here is that we have two different criteria, one being the year and the other one being the state. And so an xlookup only allows for one lookup value, so that's not quite gonna work there. Instead, we're gonna use the index match equals index, press the tab key, and for the array, we wanna select the whole area. So we'll go all the way up over here, Control Shift down, Control Shift right. Press the comma key. As the row number, that's where we wanna put the first match. So essentially we're gonna match these by row and match them by column as well. So we'll go match, press the tab key. The lookup value for us is gonna be the California, so the state here, press the comma. Then the lookup array is gonna be this whole range over here. Make sure you select it all the way from the top to the bottom, press the comma key, and we want an exact match. So we'll put a 0 there, comma again, and now we wanna go for the column side. Let's go back up here. We're gonna do a second match, this time around for the column, where the lookup value is gonna be that 2019, comma, the lookup array is gonna be all of the years that we have up here, comma again, and we want an exact match. Close those brackets, and we've closed the brackets for the match. Now we gotta close them for the index and hit enter there. So it says that in California in 2019, we had 75K. Let's take a look at that. California is this third one. In 2019, we have that 75K. Now for the 2 bonus tips. And sometimes in a large Excel file like this one over here with a lot of numbers, you don't really know which area is hard-coded, meaning that you wrote it yourself, versus an area that's in a formula. And so for this, you can just go under the Formulas tab and go to Show Formulas up over here. And now you can see exactly that this whole area seems to be in a formula, same thing down below. If you ever want to deactivate it, just click on the Show Formulas again. That's going to do it for you. Similarly, with complex formulas, sometimes it's useful to find out where they're coming from. So what is this linking to exactly? For this, you can go to Trace Precedents. Click on there once. Now you can see that for the sum there, it's actually tracing from all of these areas over here. If you were to use more complex formulas, it obviously becomes more useful. Go to remove arrows to remove that. Let me know in the comments if you knew these bonus tricks and how many formulas you knew out of 10. For more on Excel tricks, check out this link over here or this other link over here to learn more about Excel. Hit that like and that subscribe button if you liked it, and I'll catch you in the next one.